All right, we're back. Judd'z Budz, episode 103 million, aka the Vegas Golden Knights salary cap limit. As always, our host, Judd'z. I almost said Judd'z Budz. That's not my fucking name. Spokesy, joined by my good butter. But oh my god, buddy, Mr. State of Hockey, how we doing, dude?
It's so funny. I was about to compliment you on how quickly you came up with the episode number. Like, that was so fast. And then you just mumbled everything else.
Yeah, in my defense, I had the flu recently. So flu game, and it's off to it. Me and MJ are not having comparable flu games. That's all right. I mean, about 6 minutes ago, it sounds like it's quite official. Hannafin to Vegas now. So I guess no small talk. Let's just get right into this bullshit. Vegas is going to employ the entire league by the time April hits. Everyone will be a Vegas Golden Knight, donning them the Stanley Cup champions because they got rid of every other team. They're not into expansion. They are decimating the whole NHL by just employing everybody. It's fucking unbelievable.
Everyone except for Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, for nothing. Holy fuck. We're about to see a back end that has Noah Hannafin, Alex Minivan Man Pietrangelo, and Shea Theodore. That's one of, if not the, best mobile puck moving two-way decor ever. It's unfucking believable. And they're talking about an extension, by the way. So who are they gassing in the offseason for free?
Well, you know that no one is safe. If we've learned anything about Vegas, it's that anyone that you think is untouchable, dude, watch Mark Stone or Jack Eichel could be traded this summer.
It's unbelievable.
I can't even fathom it. But
they're talking about they're also talking the extension, but also that they're not done yet. What do you mean, dude?
You know what? There's two teams that if they say they're not done, I completely believe it, and it's Vegas. And I guess there's three, actually. Vegas, Tampa, and the new Jim Rutherford Vancouver Canucks, because he's never done. That guy doesn't sleep. Yeah.
We're going to talk about him in a second.
Every single future that exists. That's his move.
We'll talk about him after because I feel like we got to touch on Vegas just off the bat because but if they end up going out and finding a way to then get fucking Jake Gensel too, can you imagine?
Yeah, I could.
I know. I don't even know why I said, can you imagine? Because it's yeah, of course, yeah. What are you, dumb? Yeah, of course I can. But good Lord, are they fucking loading up again? Bruce, if you're Bruce Cassidy, do you sit there who the fuck do I put in the ice? You guys run the show. I don't care. Anyone go. Anybody go. I have the all-star lineup. You can all, I don't care. Go. Run around. Do your thing. Do the hockey shit.
It's definitely the parents, ask your mom. I don't care.
Yeah. Have they said what the actual package is?
That's what I was just going to ask you. I'm mind blown that this happened, but until we hear the return, I guess, I don't know how shocked we can be, because it could, what do they have? They don't have a lot, by the way, of prospects. I got to think Krebs is part of this, right?
Krebs is in Buffalo. They already moved him.
No, not Krebs. Who was the guy that they didn't send when they sent Krebs? Now I can't even come up with it. Now I'm mushing everything like you. Problems.
Yeah, no, flu. It's contagious. But I'm not sure because, they've pretty much every first round pick they've ever, every kid that's ever been selected to the Vegas Golden Knights, you're all right, do you want me to actually put this fucking sweater on draft day? Because, we both know I will not be here in anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. I will be somewhere else, most likely. Maybe they just get to know the kids after they draft and they're loser. Let's just move this guy on. I should have pulled up their prospect depth chart just to try to throw darts at the board to try to guess here.
It's 5D chess though with them in the drafts. You know it. They're well, let's see. We know we're going to be working a move with Calgary, and we know they like this kind of guy, so we're just going to draft him 2 years ahead. Because they're never going to play here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start pulling up there, like just what they have for assets, but while we wait for that to actually come in. But in the meantime, they also picked up Anthony Mantha from Washington, who we talked about this last week. If there is one place where I do think Anthony Mantha is gonna look around and be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'll try here. This is fun as shit." He can be a piece of shit, and he is unbelievable, and that place is a madhouse, and he's just like whatever line he ends up on, he will be surrounded by all-star caliber players. Like, it's going to be hard for him to not light it up, assuming he gets the ice time. That being said, he is the number one player that would drive Bruce Cassidy up a fucking wall, because again, we said this last week, he has all the potential in the world to be one of the premier power forwards, like dual threat offensively. I forget who they're playing the other night, 2-on-1, a ridiculous sauce pass on the tape. Like, he is just phenomenal. And again, he plays that fucking hard game. He can be an absolute piece of shit. He beat the piss out of Nick Cousins, so I think he should go to the Hall of Fame immediately. But my God, I mean, it's like, hey, everyone said you have zero cap space, no assets to deal. What are you going to do? We're going to go out and get two of the best available players at their position, and we'll figure the rest out later. Like, people can get mad about the Vegas Golden Knights all they want. Blackburn, I forget his exact wording, but he was like, Vegas like at all times operates as if there's a meteor hurling towards Earth. Like, we're all going to die. And they just go scorch earth. They add everybody. So, I mean, they are a problem. And I mean, it's refreshing seeing a team just be like, I don't give a shit about like next year or 2 years from now. Like, we're going to go for this year. And they've just been contenders every year in their existence. So outside of, the 1 year where their entire team got hurt. But Vegas is just doing it again, these bastards.
Well, aside from the cost to acquire Hannafin, my biggest fascination now is, what does Kenny Holland do? Because, this means he has to go like big swing. Like, they're going to be meeting up in the first round. And
they did their thing.
Not lose in the first round. They cannot.
Well, Edmonton picked up Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick from the Ducks today as well at a 3-team trade. So Adam Henrique, like, I was aboard the trade for Adam Henrique train either last year or the year before.
Last year, dude, you were pushing it hard.
Because you put him on a line where he doesn't have to drive offense, but you put him with, like, just top 6 caliber forwards, and he is going to score. He puts up points, and I mean, he's cheap. Now he's going to be UFA. It would have been last year, I would have been on the trade more for it, but at the same time, I mean, put him anywhere in the top 9 for Edmonton. So that's a nice little pickup there. It's kind of like, it in theory should be a boost that they need, because I mean, outside of like, I don't know, 3 of their forwards, they have just zero offense. And that's like me being nice to one of Nugent Hopkins or Evander Kane. But other than that, it is the Draisaitl McDavid show.
Whoa. We're going to disrespect Hyman like that?
Oh, sorry. That's what I was thinking of. 40 goals from a combined 40 feet away from the net, like total. He is scoring from he did literally score from inside the net last year one time. It was unbelievable. But everyone, the only team that could have made that deal, that Zach Hyman contract, look fine is Edmonton, because all he has to do is like get around the net and he will convert every single fucking time. He has other elements to his game, obviously, but like, because it's Edmonton and the situation he finds himself in, he makes that contract look like nothing. We'll see what happens as the years go on here, but I mean, at the same time, like a fucking 40, he's gonna score 50, so that's unbelievable. Zach Hyman, 50 goals.
Is he the bigger grind, less defense wing version of Joel Eriksson-Ek? Like, can you imagine having those two guys on the same team on separate lines and just knowing that you pretty much for like 40, 45 minutes of the game are going to have something like that in front of the net?
Yeah, it's real nice. Like, it's just like, yeah, you put that guy in front of the net, there's a 60% chance the puck's going in off his stick or something. Like, they're causing chaos, and they're two big boys. Yeah. So, I mean, for Edmonton, nice pickup. I still think they've got some serious work on that back end to do. We'll see what happens here with the likes of Cody Ceci. One guy I was intrigued to see if they would try to make work is also not available because, unfortunately, for the Central, Colorado's having themselves a nice day. They've picked up Casey Middlestat, Minnesota boy, from the Sabres for Bowen Byram. And I'll tell you, I really hope this is kind of the restart for Bowen Byram. I really hope so. It's just weird this year how it is not worked. Part of that was I think he playing with Jack Johnson for a lot of this fucking season. That also hurts. Was that? Yeah, that was just a 1-for-1 trade. I mean, if you're,
I love when the tweet goes out and it's 1-for-1. They have to clear that up because everyone's like, what else? I don't know, man. That one was weird to me because I get like the immediacy of it, and I think all in all, Avalanche made out great here with how the team looks now compared to it, earlier today. Oh man, that Bowen Byram is just such a player that it's so hard to move on from that talent, even if, he's having a supposed down year. And I guess the other question is, has Casey Middlestat figured it out? Like, obviously up top, like, we have no questions that he sees and reads the game at that level. But is this just like the flash year and now going to Colorado, now that he's gotten comfortable and acclimated, like maybe throws off what he's actually developed here?
No, I mean, I think because, I mean, he did this last year. Last year he was 15 goals, 44 assists, 59 points, like by far a career high. He's on pace to beat that again this year. He's already 1 goal away from tying last year. He's got 47 points in 62 games now. And I mean, in a year where Buffalo pretty much had nothing up front, he just was the one guy that was like producing the same as he was last year. So I do think this is the way, like, and again, we've talked about this before with him too. Like, there was absolutely zero reason for him to go into the NHL right away. Like, that was quite clearly not the right decision at the time. Right. And I feel like so many times when guys get rushed in the league, it ends up just never panning out. And the fact that not only did he like stick it out, and it seems like now he is hitting as the player that he was projected to be, why he got drafted where he did. It's also just impressive that he did that in Buffalo, considering how much of a shitstorm Buffalo has been since he got there. So, like, props to Casey Middlestat. And now he is on a team that's got cup aspirations, another team like we were talking about with Anthony Mantha. Like, no matter where he gets put in the lineup, he's around all-star talent. Like, yeah. So I like that pickup a lot for them. Obviously, it hurts to lose Bowen Byram, who, like, you could have given him some God damn it, playoff MVP looks the year that they won the cup, and Cale Makar just did his thing. Like, if Cale Makar wasn't there, I think Bowen Byram, like, sneaky, was pretty close to being their best all-around defenseman that whole playoffs too. And so now, I mean, you look at that Buffalo back end now too. That's a nice little pickup for them, but probably a little restart. So it's interesting that both of those players get moved, obviously for each other. But like, I would have expected if those players moved on, like, the team would have got back picks, but no picks involved. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I would take Bowen Byram over a package of like a B prospect and some picks. And I would probably do the same, or I'd say the same for Casey Middlestat as well. So I think Casey Middlestat also is still an RFA at the end of this year, so there's some flexibility there. So that's a real nice pickup for Colorado. And they dump Ryan Johansson because, I mean, that just was not working. He was playing on the fourth line there. And they bring in Sean Walker. That's a nice pickup, a real nice piece of business. Let me pull up the actual full trade. Yep, Sean Walker to the Avalanche for Johansson and a 5th and 26th. No, that's not true. Johansson and a 1st in 25 for Sean Walker, 5th round pick in 26. There we go. That's the actual trade. So that's 2 real nice, like, kind of not necessarily under the radar, I guess, but like two names that were being floated around, rumors, and two like definitely highly sought after players that they didn't necessarily have to like break the bank per se. But Sean Walker's been unbelievable for the Flyers. There was talk about extending him. Instead, they end up extending Nick Seeley, who's also been just a real reliable bottom pair, like prick, but also solid defenseman. So just some real nice business from Colorado as well. And just like a weird or interesting, at least, strategy so far from Philly. Like, I don't really know what else they're fucking up to, but yeah, I mean, you're looking right now at Vegas and Colorado, and you're just like, oh man, they are loading up here. And I would not be surprised to see them both end up in the Western Final again. But Dallas,
I don't know, Dallas, man. Dallas is where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, either way, the Western playoffs are going to be fun as hell to watch. Nothing. The East is just like, all right, like, come on, like, leave us somebody. Like, Jesus Christ. But like literally all the moves outside of like 2 or 3 have been in the West, and it's these top dogs just loading up, and it scares the shit out of me. But yeah, you just mentioned Dallas picks up Chris Tanev, the certified beauty. Did we talk about that last week? Did that already happen?
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Okay. And it looks like Logan Stankoven has no plans to go back and continue leading the AHL in scoring. He scored again last night, dude. Just like whatever ice he graces with his presence on it, he just is like, I will put the puck in the net. It's the only thing I do. That's all I do. Yeah. He's unbelievable. Like, what a fucking player. Said it before. He's gonna make a GM look real smart. And I mean, as if Dallas needed anyone else in their scouting staff pedigree to be like, yeah, this guy too.
Really needed a tire pump.
Yeah, really. Yeah, we were really needing one there. Let's see. No update yet from what the Hannafin package actually is. Yeah, let's see.
No. We'll circle back to it a bit later. We'll give it time to formulate. But yeah, those are obviously the biggest things happening here. I got to ask you, though, Z, there's been a lot of talk about breaking up honestly, the most fun goalie tandem we've ever seen. Like, do you think it's happening, and how will you react when that does occur?
I don't know. Like, I am on the ultimate like fence sitting position at this point where I actually have no idea. I lean towards no. Like, that is a massive decision, and like one that could absolutely kill them no matter what the package is that comes back. Because I mean, at the same time, if they do move Omar, ideally it's a pretty good package that comes back, obviously, but like, then you have Swayman, and everyone's like, "Oh, what about Brandon Bussey?" He's like, he plays 0 NHL games, so I don't know, or maybe he's played 2. Actually, maybe last year he played 2, 2 or 3. I don't know, but I feel like that is quite. If you're like wanting to make a run in the Stanley Cup, I feel like you better be goddamn sure that like Swayman's going to put up Conn Smythe numbers. So it's a big risk, but it clears the cap space they need. It gets you back pretty nice package. Obviously, I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing them doing it, but it is that one big move they can make, that or like a Jake DeBrusk move. It seems like there's something there. I mean, and then they have a couple other lesser players that aren't going to get them much, but could be involved in like some kind of package, I guess. I don't really know.
What do you make of the rumors that like not only is Vancouver very in on Gensel, but part of the whole shuffle might be that they're somehow sending Lindholm the way of Boston in some kind of 3-way trade?
Yeah, and I guess their goal is to end up with like the Gensel and then send Lindholm to Boston. So this is what we talked about. We're talking about Rutherford. Everyone always like he can't have like the trade deadline in the horizon. He can't see it in the horizon without playing trade. That guy has withdrawals if he doesn't like make a trade in like every 12 minutes or so. He's like, let's fucking just do this. Like Lindholm, I think he scored in his debut. I think he scored again last night or the other night. And like he's like, no, he's like itching. He is literally itching. He's a crackhead, but for trades, I was dying laughing.
Hang on. Does it change though because of the Elias Pettersson extension? Like, was Lindholm brought in because he was also kind of that hedge on, oh shit, if Pettersson like screws us over and he wants to leave, we can throw money at Lindholm and quasi replace him. And now that's not needed.
I mean, like I would assume that was at least a small percentage of like that probably factored a little bit, but it's also a crazy strategy at the same time. It's like, but if he does sign for the year, we can just fucking move Lindholm. Like we can just trade him again. We can yep, welcome, goodbye. Like, it's fine. It's again, like I just think if their thing was just in case Pettersson does not sign, bring Lindholm in, we'll give him some of that money. And then Pettersson signs like, oh, thank God, let's get rid of this fucking idiot. Like, we don't want this guy here anymore. It's crazy. Like, Jim Rutherford is an absolute maniac, and I respect the hell out of it. That's another GM I'm a big fan of, just because he's like, yeah, I will nonstop just trade everything that moves. He's like trying to trade guys of teams he's not even GM for anymore. Like, he's just looking to move anybody and everybody. But dude, I don't know what to make of that.
No, I want Höglander, Lekkerimaki, and a first for Gensel with whatever fucking retention needs to happen. And guess what? If they manage to pick up both Lindholm and Gensel at a deadline, when they're already the best team in the Pacific, I mean, by record, I guess. But dude, imagine Jake Gensel playing with Elias Pettersson in the playoffs.
It's so much fun.
It's terrifying. So much fun.
Jake Gensel is absolutely phenomenal. And like,
it's not even his talent, man, because like he is absolutely talented. No one properly appreciates how smart this fucking guy is. And it's so subtle. And you hear guys like Jesse Marshall, who I'll always pump his tires on here. Like, I think that guy's one of the best writers at The Athletic. And he flat out said, like, I can't even throw together clips for you guys of how he does it, because he is so subtle in how he hits the soft spots, gets to the right place, so that he's just perfectly primed to score goals if someone can hit him with the puck. And of course, playing with a guy like Crosby makes it a lot fucking easier. But guess what? Elias Pettersson has the same pedigree. Like, he can be that guy that just sets Gensel up to torch people and torment them in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was about to say with Gensel. Like, yeah, he is phenomenal, but he is legitimately one of the smartest players in this league. Like, he is phenomenal. It's just crazy seeing where Pittsburgh is now. Like, you don't need me to tell you that, but in theory, bringing back like Letang, Malkin, making moves that they made, like it was supposed to extend the window here, bring in Carl. It just, I don't know what it is. But like, I looked at that started, like the lineup they iced the other day, and I was just like,
that was bad.
Holy shit. Like, what happened?
But you know what? Like, everyone's like teeing off, and especially that absolute mush, Mike Grinnell. Like, oh, Pittsburgh, I said from the beginning, this Karlsson trade was awful. They should have spread the wealth and like spread that money across multiple guys. Well, dipshit, how it works when you actually offload really shitty contracts as part of the trade to bring in Karlsson, where you actually shaved money off of your salary cap total to also bring in the guy that just won the Norris Trophy while getting rid of, 3 bad contracts in the process. That was the win. That is why it happened. That is why we love it. Not because we expected Karlsson to come in and be the savior. Now, granted, did I expect to see more? Yes. And I think that's more to do with Pittsburgh coaching and maybe some of the big guys getting kicked off the power play to let Karlsson do some more work. But beside the point, that was a great move. I stand by it. There is nothing wrong with that Erik Karlsson trade. It all worked out perfectly there. Where I see the big issue, because Malkin's had a good year when he's been engaged and he's had line mates. He has not had line mates, period. And you look at Letang, like, he has been adequate. And guys like Tristan Jarry, everyone was like very critical of that signing, which I was skeptical. Like, doing that sight unseen with the injury history he has. He's been unreal. Like him and Crosby single-handedly trying to drag this team into the playoffs. And I think the real problem and the shortcomings were he signed like 4 depth players, of which I would have loved to have 1, maybe 2 of them. But he basically signed 4 guys that did the exact same thing and made them far and away the oldest roster. They have no youth. It's all old players. That was a problem. Like Eller, Achari, like good players. And I know that like Dubas has a history of being interested in those guys in general. You can't bring in that many older guys for your bottom 6. Bring in a guy like Riley Smith again. Like I like him on paper, and I thought that he'd actually be a really good fit with Malkin. It just didn't quite mesh. Dude, he's for sure getting traded back to Vegas. Watch that happen. I don't know. I think that people are criticizing and saying like, oh, they were supposed to contend this year. No, they weren't. They were supposed to be competitive, and I thought that they would make it into the playoffs. But like, no one looked at this team and said, yeah, Stanley Cup front runner, you know? Definitely have to step back and see if Dubas is even capable of rebuilding this team, because he has never been in a rebuild. He has only been a buyer. He's basically been Jim Rutherford, except Jim Rutherford is like doing 7 lines of coke. I don't know. I think that he definitely deserves criticism. I think people are criticizing the wrong moves though. And I think that it's pretty like reasonable to say, let's step back and watch what he does with this Gensel trade, what he does this summer. I'm still very like open-minded to what's going to happen next, especially when there's already like rumors out there that Crosby wants to sign like another 6 years there because he wants to work through the rebuild and be like the KG vet when they're contending again.
Yeah, the 100-point per year KG vet. Like the fucking guy is insane, dude. He is phenomenal too. Yeah, no, I think that's right. Last thing on Pittsburgh is like, how much trouble is a guy like Mike Sullivan in, you think?
It's hard to say because the reality is he and Dubas seem pretty well adjusted to each other. I think the ownership group loves him. Yeah. And again, I like, how long have you known me and how long have I just beyond gone to bat for him? This year's a bad year. And it's tough when you signed him to the extension that they did. Also tough if you don't necessarily have the next guy to bring in. I don't think he is decidedly the problem yet. Next year is probably when I'm going to find out, like, does Sully have to go or not? Which, I'm sorry, if that does happen, I really hope Bill Guerin just snatches him up instantly. Like,
yeah,
that is a guy that can take your team to the next level. And maybe the message is worn out, or maybe he's just run out of ways to try and squeeze the last drop out of this team. I, again, am still critical of him, but I think the shortcomings on the power play have been very problematic. And I do think that there are holes in the roster that have been tough to navigate. But yeah, this is the first year that I'll definitely step back and say, okay, Mike Sullivan is very, very human. So I don't think he's in trouble or on the hot seat. He's kind of like hot seat adjacent. Like he could definitely work himself into the hot seat when I never thought that was possible this early. But I don't think there's any temperature check as of today.
Yeah. Regardless, what a track record since he got there, like unbelievable. But yeah, just was curious just curious what you thought as a Pittsburgh. But let's go. All right, we can kind of just, I guess, go over the last couple fairly somewhat big names. Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers.
Weird.
It's pretty funny. I'm sure they'll just find. Yeah, I get a couple of my buddies, my Senators fans buddies, they're pretty bummed out. I mean, it feels like he's been on and off there. There's been games where I've only watched so many Senators games this year. There's games where like they've got nothing going, and all of a sudden he just does the Vladimir Tarasenko thing of just taking the puck and ripping it top shelf from the circle. Because my God, can he still shoot a puck? And when you look at Florida, you want to talk about a team that can just put it on a tee for him without him having really to do much of anything. I could see him putting up plenty of goals for the Florida Panthers, who are an absolute problem. I feel like they
hand up.
Yeah, that's about wrong. Yeah, me too.
I
me
was
too, buddy.
Down on them. I was so down on them, and now I am very hot. Like that. It's them.
Did you see
everyone else in the East?
Was it yesterday or maybe 2 days ago? The Barkov assist.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Where he took the puck out of midair, falling over, settled it backhand onto whoever's tape that was. I couldn't even tell you who scored the goal. That was one of the greatest assists I've ever seen in my life. Alexander Barkov is on an all-time heater. Like, he's been phenomenal pretty much since he entered the league. Right now, that man is on a whole other level. Like, holy shit, what a fucking season he is having. That guy is insane. But will we see? So let's see the picks for Tarasenko: conditional 4th and 24, and a 3rd round pick in 25. I mean, I think the Panthers will be fine with that.
Oh, they have.
Yeah, I know. It's literally. Let's see, and then an interesting one, kind of, I guess. Alexander Wedberg goes to the Rangers. Interesting player, like, has some secondary offense in there at times. Sometimes he is an absolute ghost. He's another one of those guys. But, I think the Rangers, that's not a bad spot for a guy like him, because there's plenty of guys there who can also feed him pucks. He's a decent playmaker in his own right as well, but he's not necessarily driving the play. I don't think he'll need to in New York. So we'll see how that kind of pans out. Not necessarily like one of the top dogs, but a decent enough pickup. I mean, makes you better. I think it was, let's see, a 2nd round pick in 24. That's kind of steep. And a conditional 4th and 25. Whatever. Any other ones that I missed? Or there are definitely a few that I missed. The biggest one, Curtis McDermott to the Devils. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I know
to another coach killed by goaltending.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Trying to think. I know that there were a couple that I'm missing. It's gonna drive me crazy too, actually.
Sorry,
while I try to remember, who.
Yeah.
Well, a couple big names left that I'm very curious to see where they go. Obviously, against what we had just mentioned, but I think a sneaky one that I think plenty of teams will be very interested in. He's still scoring some goals on a dog shit San Jose Sharks team. Anthony Duclair. I haven't seen any big rumors necessarily. I think today's kind of been dominated by these crazy moves. So
dude, that's
another
what I would
one.
have liked to see Florida get instead of Tarasenko.
Yeah, if they just brought back the Duke.
Dude, why not?
I know.
Just like Riley's going back to Vegas. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah. Vegas was one that I was curious to see if they were really still not done. I wouldn't be shocked if like Anthony Duclair could end up there. He plays with.
I would be.
Just the North. Yeah, that's it. I guess I don't know how many teams are actually afraid of that anymore, though.
No, it's not a matter of in division. It's a matter of like, I fucking hate you so much.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Sharks don't really have rivals, but Vegas is absolutely their rival.
Oh yeah. I was just, again, he can score wherever he is in the lineup. My God, is he a phenomenal north-south high-speed player? I think, again, he could find himself on any one of those lines in that top 9 and be a more than capable producer and a nice addition, like secondary addition to like Anthony Mantha and Hannafin. So I'm curious to see like where a guy like Duclair ends up. You're right, though. It would have been really fun to see him go back to Florida. I mean, not for me. I would have hated it. But that would have been fun to see him go back there and just do exactly what he did there before. Because, I mean, I think he's still got decent numbers this year in San Jose. He's got something like 15 goals. My God, are they bad? Holy shit. But the big one on the back end here, Jacob Chikrin's still available. And I know plenty of teams are very interested in his services. So,
I don't
know. Do you get? Yeah, well, yeah, I think anyone would. Where I'm trying to think where would be the best spot for him to end up. That was actually the one I was curious to see if Vegas was going to make a big bring up Vegas again, but because they were very interested in before.
Not after Hannafin.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's why I'm saying that would have been the team I was looking at before. Not anymore. Although if there's one team that fucking pull that off,
right. no, minivan gets sent for Chikrin. He's immediately a Vegas fan.
Oh my god, they terminate the contract. Actually, they just tear it up. Yeah, cleared man. Sheets and space.
No, trade is 1-for-1. Erik Karlsson for Jacob Chikrin.
That is fun.
That's fun for both sides, right?
Very fun, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's very fun for both sides. Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Where else could he fit? I mean, depending on how short term you're looking at it, right? Like, it's hard not to look at Florida. Or, I guess, I don't know. Dark horse is probably the wrong way to put it because I still don't know how they consummate a trade given their lack of assets and just their whole cap structure. But Tampa was big in on Hannafin. I don't know. This seems like a pretty solid consolation to go after. But they're probably not making a move like that unless they're confident they can extend him. And I'm guessing Chikrin is not going to be taking team friendlies. I think he's going to be looking for the Brinks truck to be backing up a little bit.
Yeah, I know Tampa Bay was they've been at him before. But I mean, I'm curious about, well, no, they've probably got plenty on that left side there. Actually, well, he plays both sides. Even like Detroit. Because I'm very curious to see what they have up there. So they want to do.
I don't even know what their cap situation is.
Oh, I think they've got plenty of space. Yeah, $3 million, sure, plenty. That counts. Whatever. But yeah, that's another one. But sneaky, most intriguing player for me, just because I think there's some team that's going to probably give up too much, although he is going to put pucks in net. Frank Vetrano, I feel like, is primed for someone to just be like, fuck it. Like, first round, I don't care. Let's do it. We want some guy to score goals. Like, we're just going to do it. I was going to say, I was like, honestly, fucking New York might do it. Like, they might do it again. They might bring it back again. But Frank Vetrano, I mean, I think he's almost at 30 goals. He's been one of the guys that the whole league's been pretty interested in that, but I feel like he is primed for someone to shell out, like, maybe not a ridiculous package, but a package where you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, really? But I mean, past few years, he's setting career highs in goals. I mean, God, that's another guy that can rip a puck, plays a hard game too. Defensively, he cares about as much. He cares about defense as much as I do, which is 0. But I mean, he was great for New York in the playoffs. Was it last year? Can't remember. But that's one guy I'm very curious to see where he ends up, because I do feel like he is primed for someone to shell out like a funny package. Him and Bushnevich. Bushnevich, I think, should get a big return. And I guess St. Louis is looking to potentially even retain up to 50% just to increase the offer. That guy is a fucking stud. So if I'm a team looking for scoring depth responsible to a game that plays a hard game and St. Louis is willing to eat 50%, I'm willing to put up a pretty decent package for a guy like Pavel Bushnevich, because even when St. Louis was in the dark days last year or two, he's been a stud. Like, I think even the year that they sucked, he put up like 30 and 30 at least. Again, like, can pretty much give you a little bit of everything, and he is a fucking prick to play against. So I love Pavel Bushnevich, and I think he should. Again, if they're going to retain 50% of his deal, I think you could end up with a pretty nice package for him. I like him a lot.
I think they're expecting a pretty nice package. So I think that's kind of the holdup. I think there's a lot of teams interested.
And you get another year on his contract as well. So I mean, like that's a real intriguing ad for sure. Anyone else that you're looking at? Anyone else that you were thinking about?
For me, it's honestly less about individual players than it is watching the teams, right? Like seeing in response. Like again, I gotta imagine Edmonton is gonna do something just to respond to Vegas. I just know Jim Rutherford is definitely not done. And the East is interesting to me because it's kind of the opposite of last year, like you already said. Like all of the moves have been in the West. If one team ponies up and takes one or two big swings, like that could totally shift the landscape in the East because it is still relatively tight. Like I don't expect this, but like Pittsburgh, for example, could very feasibly still make the playoffs. Like no one's eliminated. Again, they won't make it, but like anyone that steps up and makes a big boy move, and honestly, kind of interested to see if New Jersey can find a way to make the Markstrom deal happen now instead of this summer, because that could be fun.
It is wild that he was like legitimately like not hiding it, pissed off that deal didn't happen, like which is all like, oh fuck, that sucks.
He's pissed off because they came to him and asked him if he was okay, and then it didn't happen, right? Like it's more like, don't get me thinking about living somewhere that's not here, and then yank that dream away from me.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'd be pissed too, but it's wild to me that he was like, fuck you guys. You fucking assholes. But I get it. Trying to think any other last ones. One thing on the East though, I feel like I wonder if that's the team on Friday that all of a sudden every team just starts like rattling off last minute. Just because, I mean, at this point we have a day and a half left. Like it does feel like, given the fact that we're here and there are still plenty of moves that every team in the East probably still wants to make. I'm just waiting for the dam to break and see who is the one that actually pulls the trigger first. Because like that's when it kind of gets wild. And at least it should be a little bit more of a fun deadline day than it was last year. It's like, yeah, everyone's pretty much done. Like everyone did it.
The one that still does intrigue me, and we don't have to spend much time on it, but there's been enough talk about him, even though it seems unlikely. UC Saros, it makes too much sense. Like I know you don't want to derail what the team is doing because you want to go into the playoffs, but like the team is very, very like open about the fact that this is a rebuild. They've got Askarov coming up. Saros has had a little bit of a down year, but he's still got enough equity that teams are gonna pay well for him. Like, why not make a move like that and still try and eke into the playoffs? Because they're not beating any of the teams in the West. We just talked about it. Like, it is so top heavy. There are 6 teams that are well above the rest. Like, do you really care that much about being primed to lose in 6 instead of 4 or 5?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Barry Trotz is not an idiot.
He is not.
I'm sure they're going to be like, all right, like, we're listening.
I mean, LA is the team, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, think if LA, instead of trading for, Pierre-Luc Dubois, if they sent that exact same package for UC Saros, but did that before the season, again, in kind, they're in a way different place right now. Like, that's a team that we're probably saying is better than some of those West juggernauts that we've been talking about. Are we not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, coming in, like, I think everyone was pretty high on them already. So, yeah, and with the caveat, be like, goaltending could be a problem. It's like, well, here we are.
Weird how that happened. Cam Talbot wasn't the solution?
I feel bad. I love Cam Talbot.
I'm an asshole. I would absolutely love to see Gustafsson or Fleury get traded to LA just to see them supplant him and just have it go full circle.
They both go. Yeah.
They both go.
He ends up back. Yeah. Fuck.
Shit.
Yeah. I mean, LA would be the team that's like, I will. Yes, please. We'll give you. I think they still have both their first round picks next few years. So.
I mean,
I think.
How long? Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, unless they do get a king's ransom, nailed it. UC Saros probably stays Nashville. I'm sure they're probably staying on to him, but yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of any of the other big ones that they're still on the board or we haven't talked about yet. The one thing I said this before, like what Philly's up to, I'm so intrigued. Like, they're like, we'll get rid of some guys. Just Sealer 2-7, no problem. We'll keep that. We'll keep him around. Good for you. That's a guy that could have picked. They could have got a nice return right there.
I don't think that Tortorella is willing to let him go like that.
He's like, wow, no,
through and through. He's like, yeah, you're gonna dismantle my team, whatever. I'll allow it. It's like the expansion draft. He gets like 4 protections, and Sealer was 2 of them.
Yeah. He's like, you can move anybody off this roster, Danny, but we are not moving Nick Sealer, Nick Delorier, or Garnet Hathaway. Thank you. All right. The guys that play hard. That's it. The only untouchables on the Philadelphia Flyers, baby. Yeah, I think they'll do it for the deadline stuff.
It's that new Philly identity where they change the hex code by like 2 on that orange. It's just so different. Yeah, I think that's a good chance for us to transition. Again, if anything else pops up, we'll circle back at the end of the show here. And certainly
I'm religiously checking the updates for
just refresh. Yeah. But we're transitioning now into the USHL NCAA, really just American hockey draft eligibles, top 10 list for Z, along with honorable mentions. For those of you that haven't been paying attention the last couple of weeks, we've gone through and done the WHL, the OHL. We skipped the Q because Z couldn't even come up with 5 that were worth talking about there. So here we are, USHL, NCAA, and all fueled by this 6.9%. Nice. Coffee stout Java oats from Barrel Theory. Delicious. And I've actually got a nooner lined up for my next one, Z. So what up?
There you go.
Part of the team. But let's jump into it here. I actually got the stuff enough in advance from you that I can make graphics. We're going to see how this actually goes. I'm not very artistic, so we'll do our best. Here we go. First up, we have number 1, Macklin Celebrini. What do we have to say about this mutant, Z?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we don't even really need to say much about Macklin Celebrini because pretty much everything's been said. I mean, I put, to be generous, for the tier 1 to 2. This is the first overall pick in 2024. Yeah, I just had to. I was like, whatever. Because it also just looked funny, like tier 1. Like, that's not a tier. This is like a rank.
I think it's cooler.
I mean, what he's doing at Boston University this year is unbelievable. 26 goals, 22 assists in 30 games, 48 points. Put up 141 shots on net in 30 games. He's a plus 15, 14 PIMs. He literally checks every single box as a hockey player. People have thrown out the idea, hey, do you think he might stick around for 1 more year at BU just to play with Cover Your Ears hockey? His best buddy, Cole Eiserman, because Cole Eiserman will be there next year.
Are they best buddies?
Yeah, they're very good buddies. I mean, Macklin Celebrini, playmaker. He's got one of the best shots in this draft. He can quite literally do everything in the offensive zone. He drives play, scores goals himself. He also is a great defensive forward as well. He literally just doesn't have any weaknesses. So Macklin Celebrini, it's a no-brainer. He's the first overall pick in 2024. And because of that, tier 1 to 2 could go first or second out of the USHL contest.
Sure. And I got to ask though, Z, Oliver Moore jumped on Fellowship of the Ranks with Joe Smith and I, first guest, and he said that when Celebrini gets drafted by the Blackhawks, because we know what Gary Bettman's up to, he would rather play with Connor Bedard. do you think that there is an argument to be had that Celebrini could be the better player?
No, I'm Bedard's.
No. So that's tier 1 to 2.
I can't even give you any like snarky reply. Bedard is just he scares me. He is a scary person, and
Oliver Moore knows.
I fear him. Yeah. So we can move on to number 2.
Here we go. Artyom.
What a pick!
Yeah, I figured since he was 2, I had to find that.
That's phenomenal. Artyom Levshunov, I have seen him in midseason rankings anywhere from 2 to 10. 6'2", 210 pounds, right shot defenseman, insanely mobile, one of the best transition defensemen we've seen in a draft class in a long time. The defense is going to be a work in progress. It's actually gotten a whole lot better as this season's gone on. He is pretty disinterested in actually playing defense. Like there's been like one of the big criticisms early on, especially this year with Michigan State, is he was the classic, like, oh, look, his controller died, where like he would like just stop skating, like even just letting everybody just blow by him off the rush, like he's gonna like cherry pick and wait for like a clearance and just go like on a breakaway himself. But my God, the offensive upside and his ceiling is unbelievable. And again, because he has shown a whole lot of progression in his defensive game this year, like that gives you reason to believe that he can actually at least improve on it to be serviceable, at least in the NHL. But we have not seen a freshman defenseman in college hockey do what he's doing in a very long time. And again, you add in the fact that he's a 6'2", 210-pound right shot defenseman that, like, when he decides to be engaged, he also is not afraid of playing a pretty mean game. His ceiling is insane. What he was doing in the USHL last year too was a joke. Like he torched that league too. Again, look at the numbers as a defenseman right now for Michigan State, like 32 points in 34 games as a 17, 18-year-old. He is 18. He's one of the older players in the draft, so that always gives him somewhat of a knock, I guess. But I mean, he's putting up video game numbers for like a defenseman in college hockey. And like he's one of the best skaters we've seen in a very long time. Like forwards, backwards, like the lateral agility, he is phenomenal. So I decided I had to put him here just because, you know, the guy that we have next has not shown any progression. Meanwhile, Artyom Levshunov has actually shown different aspects of his game as the years gone on. So there's been progress there. But Artyom Levshunov, I think he has a chance to even go as high as 2 or 3 in this draft. I think might be a little bit of a long shot with one of the other giant fucking defensemen that every fucking team in this league loves, apparently. But he definitely has that kind of upside. He is so fun to watch. So that's where we put our Artyom Levshunov.
Beautiful. Number 3, the man you mentioned before, Mr. Cole Yzerman, the decommit of your Minnesota Golden Gophers, now going to Boston University to play with his best friend, I guess.
He's coming home. Coming home. Mask it. Yeah. So Cole Yzerman is going to be a fascinating one to watch on draft day. I mean, coming into the year, he was pretty firmly looked at as 2 or 3, him and Celebrini and Demidov. So then you could throw in a couple of other guys that maybe would get in that mix. As the year's gone on, it's been proven over and over again that like his big problem right now is just that he is so one-dimensional. That being said, and the stat line's out of date now because I had no idea when I was putting together the numbers that he had another game. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. Hey, he scored a hat trick in that goal. So there you go. The one thing that he does do probably better than almost, if not everybody in this draft, is score goals. He has one of the best shots I've ever seen. He puts it wherever he wants it, and he has an absolute cannon. He can score off the rush. The problem is, like, in order for him to score goals, like, he's going to rely on pretty much everyone else on the ice to do 90% of that work. So that's why he has slid down in lots of rankings this year. I mean, you still can't question the upside. The only question is going to be like, all right, well, is his success going to depend on like the environment that he's in? Because if he has to do a bulk of the work to like get the puck for himself, that's going to be a problem. But again, the thing you can't deny is that goal scoring ability. Like, he was legitimately put on this earth to score goals. And he does it better than everybody in this draft. So I think it's 41 games now, 43 goals. But like, in order to be an effective offensive player in the NHL and like at least scratch his potential, he is going to have to become a little bit more multidimensional and not just be that like shooter from the outside. He's going to have to develop a little bit more of an inside game. He's going to have to like learn how to do a little bit of this work for himself. But I mean, you know, you can't knock the goal scoring, and you have to like, he's not going to fall outside the top, like, I don't know, 10, 12. I don't think. I'm sure he'll still go very high. It's just been weird to see like the fall off. I mean, that's dramatic, but he was looked at firmly as number 2. But again, I'm saying this as if like, oh, this has been like a, who was it? Arttu Ratu a couple years ago was like firmly first overall the year before his draft, and then he ended up in like the second round. That's not the case here. We're still talking about a kid that's probably going to go top 10 in this draft, but there's definitely some concerns among pretty much like whether it's like public scouting community, even like NHL scouts have said it before too. Like, he's going to have to not just do this one thing in order to play in the NHL at a high level, but I think he will still. So
it is kind of the most important thing in the game.
yeah. But if you don't do anything to get the puck, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I'm still obviously very high on Cole Eiserman. I think he's going to be awesome, and I think he'll go very high in this draft, as he should. Because in terms of just raw goal scoring, my God, it's another very fun player to watch. So we put him at number 3.
Fair. All right, then. Moving on to number 4. Zeev Buium of Denver, who, I don't know. He's a guy that I've seen range so far across, like, more the holistic community of scouting. Interested to hear what your thoughts are here.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming into the year, he was probably the tail end of everyone's first round. Another guy, like we talked about this with Lev Shunov, he's doing something in college hockey that as a defenseman, as a true freshman on Denver, who's a top 5 team, he has 41 points in 32 games. Like, he is incredible. He went to the World Juniors and lit up the World Juniors as well. I think he ended up being like a +10 in that tournament. And, you know, he's shown some like pretty decent defensive capabilities as well as a young player in college hockey. But what he's doing, like, for Denver in particular, is like even more impressive. The fact that he's doing this on like an absolute contender for the national championship. He's playing like probably 25, 26 minutes a night. And when he's on the ice, he is like running the show. Like, he is running the offense from the back end. So I think even with his like somewhat, I think 180 is generous. I'll tell you, it feels generous for me. But like the offensive upside, it's always been there, but this year he's just taken it to a whole other level against competition that he's never faced before, which is just unbelievably impressive. But I mean, just the fact that you're watching Denver and the guy that's running the show is a 17-year-old defenseman is incredible. And I mean, 32 assists, 41 points in 32 games as a 17-year-old defenseman is unbelievable. I'm very high on Zeev Buium, as our buddies over at Smart Scouting are. I think we're pretty firmly like right around 8. You know, he unfairly probably gets the label as like, oh, offensive defense. We'll see what he could do defensively. I think he'll be fine in terms of like defense at the NHL level. But like, you love the skating ability. Like, you cannot forecheck him either. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, his escapability and like maneuverability around forecheckers and evading pressure, like, he is phenomenal. So he does so much of the legwork for Denver and he also ends up on the score sheet. So very, very high on Steve Bouillon. One of my favorite defensemen in this draft, and one of my favorite defensemen in the past couple of drafts. And I've had a couple draft sons who were defensemen. So love Steve Bouillon. I think he will go very high in this draft.
Is he in the running for draft son?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great name. All name team.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in consideration for that. All right. Next up here, Trevor Connolly, which Z, I had to literally go back and like fact check you when I read through this to make the graphic that he's 6 foot 156. And then
confirmed.
Pulled up these pictures and saw everywhere else that yes, he is in fact 156 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. So Trevor Connolly is going to be a very interesting player. He's been phenomenal in the USHL this season. He was easily USA's best player at the Holinka last summer. And I mean, he's always been a highly skilled, high scoring player wherever he's played. This year, he's taking it to a whole nother level where like legitimately one of the best playmaking forwards, unbelievable skater. The big question with him is this is a very controversial player for like past off the ice issues that many who have like actually looked into it instead of just writing like this ridiculous athletic article. Like he's taken a whole lot of steps forward, unlike some other players that have been drafted in the past. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. But either way, just in terms of the hockey player, like he is one of the best playmaking forwards in this draft. Like he is, like the hands are unbelievable. He could score goals himself. Like in transition, he makes every defender look like it, like just looks stupid. So he'll be at Providence next year. I think he's going to put up a ton of points as a freshman. Definitely needs to take several steps defensively, as all of these fucking 18-year-old kids do. But in terms of like the base tools or the foundational tools there with the skating, elite hockey sense, and elite like playmaking ability, the big question is just going to be how much the stuff off the ice like several years ago is going to come back to bite him. I guess there have been scouts on the record being like, I don't know if we can like risk a PR hit, I guess, but we'll see. I'm not going to go too far because I mean, I've obviously never talked to the fucking kid. I'm going off of other people who do, but we'll see what happens. But he is one of the best playmakers in this draft. Like his highlight tape on draft day is going to be incredible. It's electric skill. And like I talked about it last week when we talked about Luke Misa, the ability to like think and play at like breakneck speed. That's Trevor Connolly as well. Like he is always thinking 3 plays ahead and at full speed, and his hands match the pace. Like it's not like his brain operates faster than his hands do, which is always another like key indicator in terms of like hockey IQ and everything. So yeah, very fun player to watch. We'll see what happens with him on draft day, but in terms of upside, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where just based on a couple of the swings and misses we've seen with teams taking those PR hits, that hurts him a lot more. Whereas like if this happened 6 years ago, he's probably not even having it affect his draft stock. Especially
that's the situation. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Moving on then to number 6. Sasha Boiver.
We talked about him briefly a couple weeks ago. Very, very intriguing forward coming out of Muskegon. I've told you before how Muskegon weirdly is just able to like recruit some phenomenal hockey players. Sasha Boiver, 6'2", 176 pounds. He has high offensive upside. Plays a phenomenal 2-way game as well, and he is fucking mean. I think this is a player. I think he'll go, and I put his tier anywhere from 20 to 30 Again, that's like my own personal, but it's definitely closer to 20. Like the offensive upside paired with the two-way ability and the fact that he is just at times able to be a bully. He is a very intriguing player. I know a lot of teams really like this kid. I wouldn't even be surprised if someone convinces themselves that they should take him like late teens, because there is plenty of upside, and he is such a smart fucking hockey player too, where it shouldn't take him like a whole lot of time to be NHL ready. Another one, his highlight tape is very fun because there's some like phenomenal goals. He's making plays, and then he's just like putting people through the glass. So I think he'll be a player that NHL scouts are going to love. I think he will be one of their favorites for sure. So I love Sasha Boisvert. I think he will go closer to 20 than 30. And again, just I mean, look, yeah, I got 71 PIMs. I think there are a couple of 15s. We love that, the guy that just has that fucking aspect to his game, but he's fun as hell. So big fan of Sasha Boisvert. I think a whole lot of NHL scouts do as well.
Yeah, but he's an effing hawk.
Yeah, and he will be. Yeah, he's a know that guy.
Oh well. All right, moving on to number 7. We've got Michael Haig.
Going to Michigan. Chicago Steel on the USHL right now. Had a slower start to the year, but has really come on strong. He's dealt with a lot of like, he had a real bad injury either like this summer. Can't remember if he was like training or if it was like towards the end of last year, but that he came back from. He also had some just bad, not the same kind of bad we were talking about before, but it's like just some unfortunate off ice stuff go on in his personal life. And that definitely, I would say, combined with the injury, probably had something to do with the slow-ish start. But since then, like he'll play center, he'll play wing. I think like he is more than capable of playing either position, but he is a dynamic playmaker that can score goals himself. Again, another guy that plays a very responsible two-way game as well. He's a great skater. Again, headed to Michigan next year. I want to find a way to have him at the tail end of my first round. I did put his tier like literally first pick of the second round to 40. But I think there's a whole lot of upside there. And like kind of like the NHL coaches, just like favorite player, love that guy. That's how I kind of look at Michael Haig. I think by the end of the year, if he keeps playing the way he is now, I think he will give himself a very good chance to end up going the last few picks of that first round. Because again, I do think there is some decent upside there offensively, and you pair that with a nice two-way game. He plays hard as well. So I think he can fit in pretty much anywhere in a lineup, which is always a big bonus. Again, we talked about the ability to play center and wing. So really like Michael Haig, especially the second half of the season. He's come on strong as hell. So wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year, he's, at least for my own tiers or whatever, would not be surprised to see him sneak into my first round personally. So like Michael Haig a lot. Wish he wasn't going to Michigan.
Yeah, that'd be nice for everyone. And I don't know what it is. I think you're hitting something on your desk that makes it sound like you're in a windstorm sometimes, but we'll get through it. I can still hear it. So, yeah.
All right. We'll get through it.
There's no wind in Boston.
Oh, fuck off.
Number 8, EJ Emery.
Another no-deck guy. Sorry.
Hawks.
Of all the guys on this list, this is the player I'm most interested to see where he ends up going, because he's a right shot, 6'3". I think he's got to be closer to 200 pounds than that. But the offensive stats don't jump off the page, but he does so many things well that in theory should be translating to like offensive numbers. Like, but he's a big boy that skates well, not just like for his size, but is legitimately like a dynamic skater. And he is a solid defender. But like, he makes a really good first pass. He can get you out of the zone. He can skate the puck out himself. So in transition, he's effective. And when you're a right shot defenseman that is as effective in transition at 6'3", like that's a player that teams are going to love. So, he doesn't have any goals this year, but he does get 10 assists in 44 games. But he's just such a responsible two-way right shot defenseman that I think I have a few buddies who have him in like the tail end of their first round just because of those like raw tools. I mean, playing on the USN TDP, like you're not, unless you're literally like a 1.5 point per game defenseman, your responsibilities are probably going to be more so like what EJ Emery's is, which is like keeping pucks out of the net and then starting the offense by starting transition and breakouts. So I like him a lot. And I mean, he's also only going to get bigger, which is very funny. But the fact that he can skate as well as he does at that size definitely puts him in a whole other tier. So I like him a lot, and I am curious to see just how he is valued by NHL teams around the league. Because again, like I said, I think it's my buddies over at EP. I think they may have ended up putting him in tail end of their first round. I might be someone else. I can't remember. But a fascinating player. And of course, he's going to Nodak as well. So there you go.
Yay. Next guy up at number 9, we've got Matvei. Is it Gryden?
Look at that. I think it's Gradine. I don't know.
Gradine? Yeah, I have no idea. But I got to hear more about this guy. He seems like a beauty.
He is incredible, leading the USHL in scoring right now. Again, Muskegon, weird. I think Bobby Mack had him at the end of his first round, and that he was somewhat known as like a high offensive potential player this year coming in. He's just taken it to a new level this year where he like playmaking ability. He's got a phenomenal fucking shot. So dual threat offensively, and he's got good size. He skates really well. So you're talking about yet another player in this draft class with like all the intriguing tools in terms of players you can work with. Another Michigan kid. He's committed to Michigan. But what he's doing this year in the USHL is like, I mean, he's torching like 64 points in 48 games. He, again, like I said, dual threat offensively. He can be a dynamic playmaking forward. He can score goals himself. So the fact that he's able to create offense in a multitude of ways, and again, the shot's no joke, gives you some kind of two-way ability where he's not like a black hole defensively. So, again, for me, definitely came on the radar. I knew who he was, knew he was eligible. I thought, coming to the year, I thought of him maybe like a tail end of the second kind of guy, maybe mid-round. But like what he is doing in Muskegon this year is phenomenal. Very fun player. Fucking, of course, is going to Michigan again. And again, I think Bobby Mack had him 32 on his list, if I remember correctly. Very intriguing player. Very intriguing. Again, 6'2", skates well, dual threat offensively. You love those guys.
Love that. Last guy then. Number 10, which there's some big names that were left off this list that we're going to get into with honorable mention. So
yeah, I battled
here. Yeah, defend yourself here with number 10, Kamil Bednarik. Which I gotta say, every picture I found of him, just death stare. This guy just oozes
never
intensity.
smiled in his life.
Like, I want him on my team. He is an assassin. He's gonna kill someone.
Yeah. Having like just over a point per game again. NTDP kid, go to BU, 6 foot, 180 pounds and change. Again, right over a point per game, but like what is impressive is the fact that he is like over a point per game given the ice time he's getting with the program. Again, like you've got a couple of their top guys pretty much taking up all the prime offensive ice time, and like you've got a kid like Kamil Bednarik like pretty much being thrown scraps, and like again, point per game. Like he's not playing the most, but again, like he makes plays himself. He's got a great shot, two-way ability. Again, like kind of the same profile. I think there's more flash and gritty than in Bednarik, but like just a reliable player that can give you such solid secondary offense when like he doesn't need that like grade A ice to make it happen for himself. So and I did battle. I had 3 or 4 guys in the number 10 spot. And just like given the step forward that Bednarik took over the other guys, I ended up just landing here. If I could do it again, I probably would have put Cole Hudson. Here, who's coming up next in the honorable mention?
I was gonna
like, I've just been so impressed. I've just been like the step forward that he's taken versus the step backwards that Cole Hudson's taken. I think I was must have just been in a mood, but I think it's still a worthy spot for him. But like the fact that he's playing maybe 14 minutes a night, and like when he's on the ice, it's his puck. And again, he can make plays, can score goals himself. He gives you, defensive upside as well. He's a good skater. I ended up putting him here. I still have him like right in the middle of that second round. So, yeah, I like him a lot. I'm very curious to see again where he goes, just because I wouldn't say he's necessarily an unknown, but yeah, I ended up just putting him here because of how impressive he's been this season for the program, given like a somewhat limited role. So I put him at 10 over a couple of the other guys that we'll talk about here in the honorable mentions.
That we will. And how do we want to go about this? Do we want to just read off the entire list and you'll talk about who you want, or are we going to do them one by one?
What's your graphic? Do you have a graphic?
No, I got no graphic for
Perfect.
them. I didn't make it that far.
So we could, yeah. Right. So I can just list off their honorable mentions, and then we can pick a couple to at least talk a little bit about. Honorable mention list: Cole Hudson, brother of Lane. We'll talk about him. Tanner Adams, he's a forward for Providence this year. Teddy Stiga, who I'm trying so hard to get in the top 10. I just couldn't do it. Max Plant, John Mustard, Will Skahan, and Christian Humphreys. Almost all of them USN TDP guys, because that's how it goes. When you're doing a list, that's college hockey and USHL. Let's just start with Cole Hudson. I was kicking myself that I left him out. It's just been a very weird season for him. I mean, especially you look at it, and I mean, like, given the ice time he's getting, he's got 38 points in 43 games, which as a defenseman, that's never, you're never gonna be upset about that. But the dynamic offensive plays that he is capable of, that like everyone knows Lane Hudson for, it's the same kind of offense. Somewhat, probably a little bit more individual offense, even at times. It's just been so few and far between. Like, he'll have one game where there's one period where he's taking over a game, then he disappears. He's been pretty reliant on the power play. Defense has been a big fucking problem for him this year. Like, it just hasn't. Like, Lane Hudson has never slowed down. Like, and I think part of it too, I'm wondering if even me trying to be as objective as humanly possible, just the fact that it's Lane Hudson's brother, I think that's always gonna that's probably gonna tint the glasses a little bit. Like,
well, because of how wrong everyone was about Lane Hudson.
Well, it's just like the thing with his brother was just like he did it every fucking game. Like, it was like he just didn't have off nights. The off nights are glaring with Cole, which is why I ended up having him outside the top 10. And there's just been so many more question marks where it's like, even when he is trying to make some of those like game-breaking plays, like he's coughing up pucks at the blue line, like bad turnovers, bad decision-making. So that's just haunted him this year. I still think the upside is very high with him. So I think he should go higher than where well, actually, you know what? I put his tier anywhere from 45 to 55. That's probably fair. Actually, now that I think about it. But I was kicking myself for not having the top 10 in this ranking, just because he is so fun when he's on. It's just been so hit or miss, and mostly missed this year compared to like coming in. Because I mean, he was firmly at least in the middle of everyone's first round coming in. It just hasn't happened for him. And again, like, it sounds funny, but like, as like a defenseman with his profile at this level should be like 1.2, 1.3 points per game, honestly. Like, you see some of the point totals around other junior leagues and it's comical. Like, I mean, you know, like St. Perec, what he's doing is a joke in the OHL. Mm-hmm. So I mean, 5'10", 177, he's not giving you a whole lot of defensive upside, especially this year. I'm hoping I look like an idiot, because like when he is on, I talked Hunter Hayton going SportsCenter top 10. I talked that into existence apparently. Because when he is on, he makes SportsCenter, he goes top 10 mode, and it is phenomenal. Like, can be a human highlight reel. Just the inconsistency this year and some of the plays that like he's making, like some of the like bad plays and the bad turnovers that we really saw very infrequently before, are popping up more and more often, and it's like gotten like a little bit worse as the year's gone on. I ended up keeping him the honorable mention, and I'm hoping I look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, he is more of a BC guy than a BU guy anyway.
Yeah. I just have to go to Teddy Stiga, another USN TDP guy. 44 games, 25 goals, 26 assists, 51 points. I was actually really trying. I should have, in hindsight, if I could change. I can't. I'm already here. We're already here. Can't change it now. I would have probably put him in there. I think the fact that he's 5'10", 177 is going to be something that teams use against him, but he is absolutely incredible. Like, two-way ability, offensive playmaker, and he is probably a top 10 smartest player in this draft. Like, and no matter where he's playing in your lineup, he's going to give you the same thing every single night, shift by shift. He is the worst type of player to play against. Like, he's killing penalties. Like, he'll be out there for a whole 2-minute kill the penalty, and then start the offense himself. Like, he is phenomenal. If he was literally like an inch taller, I think teams obviously wouldn't use that against him as much. But even at his size, like, he plays tough. And like, it's not like you're just nudging him over and like easing him off pucks. I think he is also going to end up as one of my draft sons. I should have put him in my top 10. I'm kicking myself for not doing it. I have him in the 45 to 60 tier. I could see him going before that, just because like he is a player that I think teams are going to try to convince themselves that 5'10" isn't real, because he does not play like he is 5'10", which means nothing. I just hate that that's a thing, dude. It drives me fucking nuts.
Pronman will remind them. He will.
Yeah, they'll be about to deck him and Pronman run on stage. Reminder.
Disclaimer.
No,
Make sure
I love Teddy
the iTunes agreement.
Also, probably I don't know how you feel about this. Honorable mention all name team. I love a simple first name followed by a low-key sick last name. So I think he's going to be an honorable mention. Teddy Stiga. That just sounds like a beauty. Is a beauty.
I can see it being considered. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll cross that bridge. There you go. But he's the man. BC guy. Love that for me. Let's see.
Is that it as far as guys that you wanted to highlight, or are there any more honorable mentions that you also are kicking yourself that they're not number 10?
Not kicking myself, but I think the two on this list left, I think John Mustard, great name.
Great.
Waterloo Black.
That's what I thought you were getting into when you said that. I thought that was going to be your transition out of Teddy Stiga.
No. He's awesome. He plays mostly center, but again, plays both center and wing. Waterloo Blackhawk, 6'1", 184. Just a solid two-way center with serious offensive upside. And he's got a real mean streak to him as well. But he's such a smart fucking player, where like another guy that can absolutely kill an entire penalty for you and then create offense himself. But I think he will go higher than where I think he'll go early second. I have his tier anywhere from 45 to 60, which probably feels fair, because I think while there's definite offensive upside there, I just question how much at the NHL level. But he's another guy that's going to make himself very useful anywhere in your like middle six. So I'm not kicking myself for not putting him in the NCAA USHL top 10, but another guy that I think teams are going to love, just given the physicality, the two-way ability, how smart of a player he is. So I like Judd Mustard a lot. Great name.
Nice.
Last one. Will Skahan. Left shot D-man. again, program guy, also headed to BC. Beauty. 6'4".
All the Boston guys. Weird.
Yeah, we're actually, that's everyone. Yeah. I should put them all in my top 10, actually. Headed to BC, 6'4", 195. Oh, well, I guess 193, whatever. Not big offensive numbers, but phenomenal skater, especially given the fact that he's 6'4". He is an elite defender. I think teams are gonna find a way to take him above where I have his tier, 50 to 60. I think he's easy, early second round caliber guy, given just the fact that he's got that size and skating ability. And I mean, like, while the points aren't there, another guy that like is more than reliable in terms of breaking pucks out, great first pass, starting offense that way. But defensively, just like incredible. And he's big, he's mean. So I think teams are going to love him too. And another guy, I know I have buddies who have him like not in their first round per se, but like early second. So yeah, I like him a lot. Very curious to see how he the rest of the season goes and where he ends up. And yeah,
we got through the top 10 and like 4 guys that you thought should have also been number 10 on your list. This is great. And all
I was kicking myself for not putting Felix Ungersorum in here, even though he was draft eligible last year. He is not a college hockey guy, but he is the greatest hockey player of all time.
No lies detected. Gotta throw this one in here for just controversy's sake, and then we can wrap it up because still no Hanifin news that I've found. It sounds like the deal's still being finalized and being worked out. There's going to be some retention, whatever.
The league office is like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? We haven't even processed the Mantha one.
It's like fantasy hockey where like you've got a dickhead commissioner who's just like, no, this is a fair trade, but I'm not going to allow it because I don't want Vegas to be too good. So no, done, out.
I've had enough of your bullshit.
and then even further on the fantasy comparison, like, Jim Rutherford is the guy that literally sends out like 2 or 3 trades to each person. And then a trade gets accepted. And then the next person's like, hey, I'm trying to accept your trade, but it won't happen. He's like, oh, dude, I traded them like 20 minutes ago. Hurry up. But Mateo says, Weeksy with the engagement bait of the deadline. Lindholm to the Bruins, DeBrusk to the Penguins, Gensel to the Nuck. No added info, but he wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah, he threw that out there like I think 20 minutes before we started.
Oh, old news.
I don't know. Imagine if it's like a 1 for 1 for 1. Like that would be bananas, dude. The DeBrusk to the Penguins thing is interesting. I could see that working the exact same way that it's working here in Boston, like him in Pittsburgh, like literally like copy paste, where it's just like the flashes are there when he's on, he's phenomenal. And then he goes ghost mode until his dad challenges him to like 30 push-ups if he doesn't score. And it's like, oh shit, all right.
His dad's immediately hired by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, we got to give one here then if we're wrapping up. Jamie Woods asked twice now. Just realized this is NCAA and USHL guys only. My bad, but still curious on Isegai from the Dub, though. I don't know if he is eligible for this year's draft he mentioned, but also just wanted to know your thoughts on the prospect as a whole.
Yeah, he gets a lot of love. I think it's Kenta. Is it Iso guy? Yeah, I guess so. I want to pull up his numbers because he's like probably right under a point per game. He is fun. He's a good player. Like every time you watch like games, you notice him because he's got the offensive flash. And again, like pretty decent offensive numbers. I think he'll end up getting drafted probably late. But I mean, there's offensive upside there. He's got decent size. He fucking flies on the ice. And I know that at least in terms of like the public scouting community, like he is very highly thought of. So he's a fun player, man. So yeah, I like him a lot. He's fun to watch.
Nice. Then I think that's a wrap. And Sean Kozyrov has uncovered why the trade hasn't gone through yet. Got to make sure the Vegas player doesn't have a secret NMC like Dadonov.
Oh, wait, I was wrong. He's way over a point per game. I didn't even realize he was lighting up. Wait, what the fuck? This can't be the same guy. Whatever, never mind.
Now we got to go back and read the WHL ranks.
No, I thought he was eligible this year. I guess it was last year. There you go. Or 2 years ago. Why did I think he was? Oh, you know what? It may have been with the overager talk. I think he should get drafted as an overager. There you go.
There we go. Overager. I mean,
he is lighting it up with Wenatchee. He was in the USHL. Now he's in the Dub.
The Wenatchee Wild of Winnipeg?
Yes, the Wenatchee, formerly Winnipeg, formerly Kootenay Ice. Yeah.
Nice. We did the thing. Gun toting granny. Everyone, hit the like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it since the Hanifin news has not been finalized yet. Which I'm sure by the time this releases, there will be so many more trades that we didn't even talk about. But so be it.
It's going to be very funny because this does drop on Friday, right around the deadline. So everything will be done. So everything we said will be.
I mean, maybe we'll just talk Isha into dropping this one on Thursday instead.
Drop it out. I don't let him edit any of them, so we'll just send it off.
Don't you fucking edit.
But yeah, that'll do it for us here. A lot of bots tuned in. So
right, yeah, that's got to be what's going on.
Thanks, Elon.
Hey, no, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for having Facebook and Instagram crash. Everyone had to come over here. That was fun.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back someday next week, maybe, in theory, unless I get bird flu again.
Bird flu. Always sunny? No.